Well, since I'm taking a little bit of a break from the larger video projects just to even a few things out in life right now, figured to compile some Blu-ray news for you guys. There's been a lot of announcements lately, just like a whole slew of just fantastic things and interesting stuff. And the first one comes from Aero Video because they're going to release this Joel Schumacher film in the US, UK, and Canada, and that's Flatliners, his 1990 film that has Kevin Bacon and Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts, a whole bunch of fantastic actors in it. That's never gotten a special edition release. Nothing but bare bones. No interviews, no commentaries, no nothing. And of course, Schumacher's now passed, so obviously we can't get anything new from him. Maybe they'll dig up some archival stuff, but all the stuff they've announced is a 4K Ultra HD restoration of the film, Dolby Vision HDR, and they have the 2.0 and the 5.1 mixes of the audio soundtrack, and tons of stuff. It's like one of these transfers is going to be supervised and approved by Jan de Bont, the cinematographer behind that. He shot Hunt for October and Die Hard, directed stuff like Twister and Speed. This guy's going to be involved with it, so he's got the whole thing improving the transfer and being involved with some of the special features interviews. There's one involving him, the lighting technician on the film, another one involving the screenwriter on the whole film, a couple other things with just like the assistant director and the production designer and stuff like that. Even James Newton Howard, the composer for the film, will also be interviewed. So they've gone really far out for this whole thing. And of course, a lot of the cast is very A-list type of people, probably hard to grab in terms of like their schedules, availability, and maybe some costs involved with getting some of them involved, stuff like that. But getting all these behind-the-scenes people involved with it, from the screenwriter and the composer and the cinematographer, all the people involved with creating this entire film, I was on the verge of getting this up as a review, and then this announcement drops like, well, now I got to delay that till August, so I can't go ahead and do like a full retrospective in-depth review if I don't have the plethora of information this entire thing's going to get. So they got all of the different things. They got all this stuff, including the theatrical trailer, and they got a reversible sleeve artwork, and they're going to have a special collector's booklet and the first pressing and the whole thing. So anyone's been even the slightest bit of fan, you've got to grab this release because obviously it's going to have the absolute best picture and sound that the film's ever gotten. And I think maybe the transfer that's been going around on the, like, I just grabbed the Mill Creek Steelbook release where there's nothing on it, but apparently it was like the best picture, the best video at the point in time we're getting it. But I was like, well, I'm going to have to sell that thing off and get this because there's no possible way I'm going to get nearly as much out of that as I will this Flatliners from Aero Video. So August 2nd for US and Canada, and UK will get it on August 1st. So get it up on your pre-orders if you're at least been a fan of this whole film. No, I think it's pretty good. It's a fantastic visual style. Jan de Bont just kills it all over the place. Some people have been a little here and there on, but I think it's just one of those Schumacher films. Like, I think a lot of Schumacher films deserve a little bit of a special edition treatment. I know he's gotten that for The Lost Boys and St. Elmo's Fire a little bit, I think. There's some things on that old disc. And, of course, the Batman films he worked on and various other things he's put his name to and stuff like that, Falling Down, all that stuff. So we've gotten input on most of his films through special features, but I'm glad at least this one's going to be able to give a lot of other people the chance to talk about the film and Joel Schumacher's contributions to that piece of work. So that's kind of cool. And, of course, there's always Scream Factory news. And they're turning out a lot of their old collector's edition stuff around into 4K releases, and kind of a big wish list stuff for a lot of fans is getting the Child's Play films. Now they don't have everything, but they're at least getting the first 3 released and restored and remastered on 4K coming on August 16th. So, yeah, the first one is owned by MGM, and the next 2 sequels, pretty much all the sequels, are through Universal. So they are doing a bundle pack for this. They have just like the collector's edition entire thing, just like the absolute ultimate collector's edition stuff. Enamel pins. They got alternate slip covers with different artwork on it, and there's like a charred Chucky doll from NECA figures and stuff like that. All this type of stuff. If you're a goddamn collector and you love this franchise, there's no two ways but you're probably going to get this release because it's probably going to have the best version of these films possible, picture and audio wise. They haven't announced it about any of the features for the second and third films because notoriously they've always just gotten really bare bones stuff before. But I'm sure they're going to get some interviews, probably maybe Don Mancini, Brad Dourif, and a few other like effects guys, maybe Kevin Yeager, Who knows, but hopefully they'll announce that in due time and get us a little more information on that. But August 16th is when you're going to get that. And one thing that's not 4K is that they're actually releasing, as I've kind of noted here on the channel and other update videos and community posts, is that they're putting out Fire in the Sky from Paramount. And this is a film from 1993 that is a loose adaptation of the Travis Walton alien abduction account. Now, this was obviously previously released by Imprint Films in Australia on a region-free Blu-ray, which did have additional bonus features than what Screen Factory is offering. Now, they are porting over the interviews from D.B. Sweeney and Robert Patrick on this whole thing, along with the photo gallery. They have a new interview from the director of the film. And the fact is that the old Imprint Films release in 2020 did have a full audio commentary from the director, as well as a further featurette from the visual effects supervisor and the visual effects art director. So it's like they had additional things that are a lot interesting. I've heard that maybe the Screen Factory ones are slightly re-edited versions, so they might not be exactly the same versions that were out on this one, but they'll probably at least take it from the exact same interview footage here and there and everywhere. But Screen Factory is one-upping things in terms of getting a new 4K scan of it, which is very interesting in a certain way. So it is enticing to go grab that version of it. But if someone's like, okay, I already have the Imprint Films one, I don't really see a reason to really go for the Screen Factory one just for the new transfer. There's a thing to note in terms of like a lot of these 4K scans that they're getting off the Screen Factory are getting turned into proper 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays. We're getting the one for Friday the 13th. We're getting the one for Event Horizon. You're going to certainly see the other Friday the 13th films that were remastered in 4K, such as Part 2, 3, and 4, getting those releases eventually. So it's like it seems very obvious that anything that Paramount is preparing as a 4K scan for Screen Factory, they are turning them later on into Ultra HD discs, but not porting over the special features that Screen Factory is providing. So if you already have the Imprint Films one, you might, and you're kind of interested in getting the new scan, but really don't want to pony up the entire thing. Maybe eventually Paramount will put that out as a 4K Ultra HD disc. If not, you'll probably at least get it as a VOD release. I think it's going for about $22 or $24.99, so it's not a terrible price, but it's not labeled as a collector's edition, but they're at least putting a little something into it. But obviously the Imprint Films one does have more. Anything that you're probably getting with the interview with the director is probably done in a much more long-form take with the commentary that was released from Imprint Films. Well, shifting over to their parent company, Shout Factory, Shout Select, they announced a 4K version of Red Dawn, the nice mid-1980s action film, stuff like that. And they're also giving a Steelbook release, so you can either get the proper, just regular keep case with the slipcover, or you can get the new Steelbook release. And obviously, brand new 4K scan from the original camera negative. And I think they might have released it before because they're not touting any of the new and the bonus features on it as news. They're putting there are full-length documentaries, there are featurettes on the whole thing, trailers, just like there's a lot of stuff involved with it. So if you've not picked up Red Dawn before and you're interested, no brainer on that front. So it's August 16th, same day as the Child's Play set coming out. So they're putting it all out there, so break the bank if you're very much interested. But Kino Lorber is killing it on the 4K front as well, because I was really excited. They announced Leviathan, this fantastic George Cosmatos directed sci-fi horror film that came out in that whole time where everyone was trying to capitalize on the impending release of James Cameron's The Abyss, which again, no Blu-ray release yet. But so that fantastic Peter Weller, Early Hudson film with the fantastic Jerry Goldsmith score and Stan Winston effects, coming out from them with a Dolby Vision Master, but there's no date yet. There's no special features, but if anything is evidenced by what they've done before. Another title from MGM that they also put out the 4K version of was Invasion of the Body Center 78. They got all the Screen Factory featurettes and all that type of stuff poured over to their release, put out on 4K earlier this year. So I really don't doubt that they'll probably have the exact same thing for Leviathan, plus a brand new scan in Dolby Vision, and we'll see what else they announce later on. But there was a pretty good comprehensive bit on Leviathan on that old disc, but it's been long out of print. But I did produce a video on it many, many years ago. If you're very interested in checking that out, go ahead and do so. But also, I noticed they're releasing a lot of Chuck Norris films, like old Chuck Norris action films. They've got Force of One, Good Guys Wear Black at the Octagon. But they're not putting out in 4K. The new 2K remasters, new 2K scans of the whole thing, but new audio commentaries from film historians and putting together some other maybe like archival making of featurettes, stuff like that, but they seem pretty substantive from the run times they're putting out. So whatever they're putting together for it, they're putting together a really good solid package for any Chuck Norris fan. So if you're very much a fan of his films and stuff like that, these seems like a really good choices to go for. So they'll have slipcovers and trailers and radio spots and all other wonderful stuff they dug out of the archives. So definitely add to your Chuck Norris collection if you're very much interested, because I think those are some of the ones that are considered classics in his filmography and stuff like that before they went into the full canon films realm of stuff. But really good stuff. They're getting audio commentaries, like I said, and all other swell of different cool things. So check those out and grab them out from Kino Lorber. So you got that, and they've made a new deal with Paramount, so they got a whole bunch of different films. A lot of them are coming out in 4K, not all of them, but the first one they announced was Tropic Thunder. And that's a really cool film. That was a wonderful film back in 2008. Awesome stuff. And they're putting together a 4K version of it with both scans included and Dolby Vision Master. So nothing else announced yet, but it's like that was the first title they announced when they said they just, like 2 days before then, said, we just made a deal with Paramount to sign over a bunch of films that we're going to work on. This is the first one out of the gate. So I don't think the current Blu-ray has the theatrical. I think it's just the director's cut. So they'll be nice to kind of have that in terms of like getting the two different ones, because there are certain different scene alterations and some like certain music licenses that change between different versions and stuff like that. So that's a really fun film. Robert Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, and Jack Black, all this type of stuff. Awesome film. Hopefully they'll do it absolute justice on the format. We're talking Paramount stuff in terms of like just native Paramount putting out their own stuff. Star Trek, the motion picture director's edition is coming out. Finally did a 2-disc in September. And some word from other retailers, not confirmed by Paramount with a press release or anything like that. But apparently Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6 are making their way to 4K in September as well. Now, it's pretty much being said that these are not going to be a combo pack type of thing. They're not going to be like the first 4 films they put together, just a box set. These are going to be individually released films. Oh, they're probably going to bundle all this stuff into a mega box set by the end of the year for Christmas if you're interested. But right now they're being touted as individual releases. So if you don't want Star Trek 5, you don't have to buy Star Trek 5. You can jump to Star Trek 6 and indulge in the director's edition, which I have not seen yet, because I had a lot of problems with the technical issues on Paramount Plus, and I had some things where I had to cancel my goddamn screening of the film for the Fathom event, which really sucked. So I'm going to have to wait until September when it comes out on 4K disc to really enjoy it with the Dolby Vision and the Dolby Atmos and the brand new effects and the fantastic, amazing stuff they've all done with this whole thing. I can't wait, because I think if anyone watched my old review of it, the old film, I talked nothing about the director's edition that was released on DVD way back when, and I just think that is the absolute proper version. I really just came to very much appreciate the film, seeing Robert Wise's vision completely fulfilled, and this is going to be like even beyond that further, so I can't wait to check this out. So I just think it's just a great type of thing. So we'll see once we get a final proper announcement on those with a proper press release. We'll talk a little bit more about, because Star Trek 6 does have different edits to it. You have the theatrical release, which was, the film was shot Super 35, but it was framed for 2.35:1 for theatrical release. There was an original home video version, which included additional scenes, but still maintained the same basic aspect ratio. But I know for the special collector's edition DVD, Nicholas Meyer went in and did some final adjustments to the film and opened up the frame closer to about 2.00:1. So it'll be interesting to see what they do regarding that. Hopefully they'll just include both versions and they'll kind of do maybe a compromise on the aspect ratio. Or if they go even further and just like, okay, we really like Nicholas Meyer, his Star Trek films are loved, we'll put on like 2 different discs with different aspect ratios if they're really that regard to it. I don't know if they'll go that far. Maybe they'll just do a compromise and stick with the 2.35 to 1 and do a seamless branching between the two different versions. So I hope that happens. We'll see what occurs when they finally make a proper official announcement. But Warner Brothers, kind of a nice little thing, as we got a new Tom Cruise movie in theaters with Top Gun Maverick and stuff like that, and Tom Cruise is a hot property. Edge of Tomorrow is finally getting a 4K release from Warner Brothers. And that's kind of a nice type of thing. It's like, kept thinking it's like, it never did get one. It's like it released in 2014, so it's a little bit before the 4K format took off and settled its feet and stuff like that. So just a little bit before that, so they never put it out there, but they're apparently doing a Dolby Vision, a Dolby Atmos entire presentation for the whole thing. I think it's the same basic featurettes that are on the previous standard Blu-ray. Now I have I think it was the Best Buy exclusive one, which did have an additional 15-minute long featurette, which is not included in the press release for the special features of the 4K release. But you can get a proper standard release, or you can also get a Steelbook version they're putting out, but I think it's going to play very well in 4K. It's been a very, very lauded science fiction film. Even though it didn't quite make the money at the box office, it did get great critical reaction. I really loved it at the time. And I think it's a really good, fun film from Doug Liman, and just like having Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise in it, really did a lot of good things for it. Overall, I just think it's a really smart, fresh sci-fi film. Nice that it's getting the 4K release. It'll be a 2K upscale, but with the Dolby Vision, I think it could really pop out and be very exceptional, and I think they can do a really good job with it. So there's all that. And talking just a little bit about a couple other franchises here. You got Men in Black hitting, I think is it 15, what was it, 20 years? 25 years. Fuck, I never think it was 1997 that film came out. I think it's closer, I keep thinking it's like closer to like 99 or something. It's a few years difference, but 25 years? It's gone by that fast. Men in Black. The entire trilogy is getting a 4K release. Now, the first film is getting a standalone release as well, so you'll get Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, and a few other things involved with new interviews from Barry Sonnenfeld and production designer Bo Welch. So they're really putting it on there. I think it's just been a really solid film for Sony for a long time. Obviously, they've made a full franchise out of it. They tried to do Men in Black International, which didn't hit off so well. Stuff like that. Even like the sequels are mixed bags in terms of like the critical reaction, stuff like that. But the first three films we put out in a full trilogy pack. You can also buy the first film on its own as an anniversary set. So doing a good thing. I think there might be a Steelbook as well. I'm not entirely certain, but they're doing great things. They're putting that out on July 19th. Now you got all these different things going off in that regard. And there's a real special film. A Rutger Hauer film. Rest his soul. That's finally, goddamn finally, finally getting, this is going to be the definitive release of the HITCHER. Because Second Sight Films has been working on it for a long time now. And the problem was before there was a German Blu-ray release and maybe a few other releases in Europe, but they used a theatrical print. And they did the best they could to restore that and present that, but apparently they were able to find with Warner Brothers the original camera negative. And they've gone through the full scan, and they're working with the restoration with director Robert Harmon. They're going through this thing, and I can't wait. Because all we've had here in the U.S. is some real old DVD that even though it's widescreen and it's anamorphic, the transfer just doesn't look good at all. And I've tried to put it up, like years ago, up on HBO On Demand. It's a letterboxed version of it. It's been just really badly presented, not well preserved, and the fact that they found that original camera negative, they're doing a full-end restoration 4K. I just can't wait. I need to get this film because I've had this film on a list to cover this on this channel since like 2016 for like 6 years now, and I just haven't done it because I refuse to do it from the DVD that I have. I need a proper restoration. I need a high-quality HD version, and I can't wait. So he's involved. I know Eric Red, the writer of the film. He's discussed it a number of different times on his Twitter feed about how it's coming along and how it's going to happen. So I think he's also going to be involved. They're probably going to, because there's an old UK DVD with a documentary and a few other things on it. I think there was a commentary. So they probably will license that and port that over and have hopefully some other featurettes as well. So there's a lot to talk about with this film. It's a fantastic, just amazing psychological thriller with some amazing photography and C. Thomas Howell and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Just like, it's a really fantastic film that's finally getting its due. And so love The Hitcher. It needs this release so badly. I can't wait. I've just like been waiting so long. So that's great stuff. And there's a few Fathom releases. John Carpenter's The Thing is getting a 40th anniversary Fathom screening. I think it's on June 19th and the 22nd. That's coming out. It's probably going to be from the same setup, transfer, or whatnot that Universal put out in 4K last year, which there's some things here that are mainly kind of like grain management, a few other things, but I think it mainly starts from the 4K original camera negative scan Aero video worked off of. But I'm sure they'll probably put that out for the cinema package they'll give to theaters and stuff like that. I know Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is on. If you go on Fandango here in the U.S., you'll find a listing for it that's, I think, is dated sometime in September. So a lot of these 40th anniversary films from 1982, which was one of the best genre years in film, are getting this entire re-release stuff. So I think there's a few other ones that are hitting. I can't quite remember. I'd love to get some other films. I'd love to get a Blade Runner. Love to see like Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian needs a 4K remaster. I definitely think that needs to happen. But that'd be cool to see in the theater. And just a lot of things like a Tron or something like that, or even First Blood. I'd love to see that in the theater and stuff like that. Just an amazing fucking year for all this type of stuff. So check out fathomevents.com. They'll have a lot of things listed and a lot of things coming up. If you're searching for stuff on Fandango, it usually comes up pretty easily. So look up on your listings, see if there's some cool stuff coming up. So most of these things would probably be from the most recent remasters they've had. So cool stuff all across the board. I know Studio Canal is putting out like a really big First Blood collector set with a whole bunch of like art cards and all these different random things, just like it's a big thing. But it's still the same old 4K version that's been out for several years now. But it'd be interesting to kind of see that going off and stuff like that. So 1982 is a great year in film, so nice to see all the stuff going back on the big screen for people to re-experience it and stuff like that. So let me know what you think of all these releases coming out, guys. There's a lot of great stuff, just amazing stuff coming out that's really just going to break the bank, like I said. But it's really cool all together. Just like some of these genre labels just trying to push as much as possible. I know some things are like some Screen Factory things like the 4K stuff. People have had some issues with the compression they've been doing, the encoding they've been doing on some of these things. I know the one for the Craft I mentioned in a recent channel update. There were some points apparently in some people kind of graphing out the bit rate on the entire disc. A few points where the thing like drops like a rock and just like it's like almost like DVD level bit rates and stuff like that. Screen Factory has not mentioned anything publicly about it, but hopefully maybe they'll appease this entire quality issue problem and do a replacement disc for the whole thing. But nothing's been said as of yet, so we'll see if there's a break in the story in sometime in the near future. Because a lot of people have complained about it, but we'll see what happens. So, guys, thanks so much. Let me know what you think of all these different releases coming out, and get back with other stuff as soon as I can. Take care. Bye-bye.